Welcome to the Tera Zone. Yo, what's up? It's someone that's not one. Welcome back to today's report. Today's report was sent in by AdrenalineJunkie, where they took Atomoxetine, Bupropion, and D8 THC. And here's the full report details. Alright, here's another substance we haven't talked about yet. Atomoxetine. This one is another prescription stimulant. Bupropion, or Wellbutrin, is one we have covered. Both of these have slightly different activity, where both affect norepinephrine, but Wellbutrin also has some dopamine activity. The combo can be pretty dangerous, as it can lead to an overload of norepinephrine. Then Delta 8 edibles were also taken. The trip here that follows comes off as a psychedelic one, a powerful one at that. I won't break down how that's possible, but I do think all of these do play a role, considering their serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, and cannabinoid receptor activity. Again, it's probably pretty dangerous, and even if it is possible, it may indicate signs of potential serious side effects, dangerous ones. Either way, this is interesting. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sure you'll enjoy it, so without further ado, let's dive right into this. Side note, I've seen some reports of people combining bupropion with DXM, which is a horrible idea, as bupropion potentiates DXM by around 30 times. Also, bupropion significantly lowers the seizure threshold above 450 mg, with a tenfold increase in seizure incident at 600 mg. This amount is also enough to cause slight delirium, which is reduced if you take a big edible with it. As for atomoxetine, it is a very weird feeling drug that will make you feel extremely nauseous unless you have a slight tolerance to it, which sucks. Taking it on a full stomach helps a lot, and if you take it on an empty stomach, you're probably gonna puke. Report. Time to start New Year's off right by taking a bunch of ADHD meds and tripping balls, of course. I had done this combo 3 days prior, expecting horrifying delirium, but was instead met with intense euphoria and crazy colorful visuals. It was so surprising and powerful that I convinced myself that it had to have been placebo or something. I decided to repeat the same dose as the previous trip with the same timing. 2:50 p.m. 1/1/2022. I take 25 mg atomoxetine on a full stomach to prevent nausea. I started sitting in my room for the trip to make sure I have a safe place with good vibes for later. I then play some video games while I wait for it to kick in. I started feeling the atomoxetine around an hour later. I feel amped, awake, slight music enhancement, an urge to move, slightly sharper vision, and sweaty palms. I then take 4 150 mg bupropion SR pills and make an oolong tea for some more good vibes. 10 minutes later, I eat a 50 mg D8 brownie. 5 p.m. I'm feeling neutral. Walls have a slight breathing effect, and there are some objects and movements in peripheral vision, but this could be placebo. There also appears to be a faint grid pattern on surfaces, especially walls. 10 minutes later, I start to feel the bupropion rush. Some colorful dots are popping in and out of walls that look like bubbles popping. A few minutes later, the walls start looking like they are melting, dripping, when I look at them closely. By 5:20, I'm just chilling and feeling pretty good, so I go eat another 50 mg D8 edible and head to my room to listen to music and look at the walls. Once in my room, I start getting the RNI adrenaline feedback fuck loop and get really amped. There is some pretty strong con mouth, like 20% more than just edibles, but it's tolerable. I'm starting to sweat a lot, especially from my palms and feet, so I make sure to drink lots of water. Music enhancement is also pretty amazing at this point. As I'm sitting on my bed, looking at the wall in front of me, I start to notice 4 equally sized rows starting to appear on surfaces with a constant flow of faint squares moving left or right along surfaces. At a given time, the squares would either move in all the same direction or in an alternating pattern. The squares were all moving in an orderly, mathematical way. After a while, the squares then started rapidly changing shape, like a slot machine showing various pixel art like sprites, as I will call them, until eventually landing on Mario from Mario 1. Whatever it lands on seems to be random, and the last time I did this, it landed on a green bush in a cardboard box, so I like this one better. The sprites then became colorful and vivid, then began flipping between NES Mario and SNES Mario, until eventually returning to NES Mario again. This was all while still moving in an orderly linear motion. On my ceiling was a spiral pattern of sprites moving outwards, while the arms of the spiral kind of bobbed up and down. I soon started getting closed-eye visuals of beautiful arabesque-like patterns that are constantly morphing and zooming that would sometimes bleed over into my open-eye visuals. The patterns are 2D and vary in complexity. Eventually, the sprites start to vary between different animation frames, like walking and jumping, but there were never two of the same next to each other. 7 p.m. I am still lucid and listening to music. In fact, I don't think I stopped listening to music for the rest of the trip. I remember thinking to myself, this is the best damn music enhancement I've ever heard in my life. It felt like sugar to my ears. Every kick and snare gave me a huge rush of euphoria, and I felt an uncontrollable urge to move to the music. There was also a brief period of bruxium and teeth clenching. Around this point, I also felt very nice emotionally. I was at peace and very happy, like everything was going to be alright. There were visions of cherry blossom petal covered meadows, and sitting in a forest watching the sunrise while listening to birds. After a while, I looked down at my hands, and they looked like they were 10 feet away from me. I look back up, and my vision goes back to normal, so I just started repeatedly looking up and down because I thought it was funny. I slowly started becoming more and more tired and lay down in my bed. My limbs slowly start disconnecting from my mind. I see a white flower blowing in the wind with circle vision, and shadowy figures walking towards me and disappearing like I am staring into a busy crowd. That's the last thing I remember from that trip. However, I would also like to share some stuff I got from my first trip that I didn't get here. There was a point where I spaced out and saw the entire history of the universe and humanity inside a single image. This vision told me that humans are basically fleshy robots built from biological factories and were developed solely through time by the natural order of the universe, and that I didn't need to worry so much. It affirmed me that I am real, and the universe is real, which was very comforting. I saw an entity which was made of geometrical shapes, which reminded me of Aztec paintings. It was on a wall with a spiral of sprites emanating from it. It was waving and welcoming me by giving off some good vibes. I also had my first experience listening to Spangle right near the end of this first trip. I had heard the name from other reports and decided to give it a try. I looked at the name on YouTube and clicked on a random song, which happened to be Spangle, Nothing is Something Worth Doing. I turned on my lights, lay down, and closed my eyes. There was a bright white light. The music felt like I was inside it. I got this deep spiritual feeling and the most intense rush of euphoria I have ever felt in my life. It felt like a raw beam of energy soaring through me. I started seeing vivid, bright, colorful 3D geometric patterns moving and morphing to the music. I remember seeing a meadow being split in two and separated as I flew over it. The visuals continued to change and morph into so many things that I knew there was no way I was going to be able to describe it later. Both times, I woke up in the morning feeling really good for a couple hours, then a little down for the rest of the day, probably from all the serotonin fuckery. It was much worse after the second time, so I know this needs to be spaced out much more than 3 days. There was also a slight dumbness, but that went away after a day along with the downer effect. In the days since, I have noticed a significant improvement in my emotional blunting, derealization, and psychological withdrawal I was getting from weed. I've been trying to take a 2-month tea break for like 3 months now. Also, don't take any Bupropion the day after. or you will get sent to hell. Conclusion. I thought it was cool, and I'll probably do it again after my break from drugs. Make sure to take your supplements, eat healthy, and exercise as always. Peace.